so nam je sanje jo sanje je non so je nam na jo pardon da ne jo je da je so ge so nam ge ro na je sanje so sanje che dan so je nam na changju pardon da ne jo da ge so ge so nam je ro la je sanje so 동년인 주정도 주변은 제제선제 관계된 조건 천하배모 띵진 겨존 소원도 소신된 눈도 점점 소로고나 따위 미께서 털벌은 조별 중앙 제배 털 현재 신의 죄라 차제 okay. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for all the sentient beings. Okay, now I think we are on to verse number 67. Oh. Huh? Oh, that Lala Mongbe Nyabache, Lala Mongbe Treduna, Tela Gyome Kangicha, Gyonda Chete Kanshi. 67, please.
Should one person ignorantly do wrong, and another ignorantly become angry with the wrongdoer, who would be at fault, and who would be without fault?
That Pugan Alam Judu. Chijangata Lala Mongbeg never chich. That Shengi Sosolia Nuadi, so Ajunego Karasana, Koran Tachi Kurung Hala Ne Tindu Kurung Yori. Inayan Tindu Kurung Yong Goyati. 소소를 채도니 드링기 두조들이야 뇌게 가르기 땡기 쳐버렸으네 꾸는 잠시 말했어 딘디기 용고야기 주조디 아니 말게 레기 원그레스 아니 다 레들이야 다 단다 쇠 대버 제기 두조디다 단다 민디요레스 단데 두조 달레디요레스 데인두 코란디 알라 뇌게야디 Quran Tobia Alya Shuriatan Quran Tobiagi Shengi Shikasa Rangi Shimpamki Nedan Rangil Shinpamki Nedan Chig Tony Samlo de Ligioris Inaya Digi Dubul Samadana Choa Digi Dubul Samadana Any bed jiggy Valane Gisha, Diggy, Talian Korea, Jaga Chunjung Tobinaya, Tig Genchi, Dig Condro Sabi, Tuzudan, and Condro Tig Zambi, Tachi Susu Lunga Yusumki. The second name, the bed Sashi to Dipodi Shibuji Chimbuiva. Ra Dig Kugu, and Mondio is Ra Mombania Chase. 다 디 표정을 디기 신기 네버 쳐버리스 다 네버 쳐세기 간사 디게야 될이야 늘내 쳐버이나 찍비찍양 디 콘도산 파종어 콘도산 주 네버 쳐를 랑니 이네리 랑기 지기 수수기다 가세기 아니 지게 년이도 간제이네 대절게 될이야 늘내 쳐버이나스 nölen chebinas, kondu chebinas, degi dibudiya sambi mijabigita, karsore le nyambachi sagi yoris. Dorduna, dindi tuzu dikala, shengi neba chebigi tuzu dikabla ya, neba chegen jigbugi nyeba sawa mari, neba chegen da chesa niga gi nyeba nyamdo saye tuzu jiris. Redwa, dale mongbe chujuna tela gyome kangicha. Ta dindu nigalo ane diris ta, karsore, gyonda temba, nigalo gyonda temba. Dindu zambe tang une tane, neba jebi dumzen chigbugi samlo yina, susugi, kasegi, susu chole, susugi nyeni duli ya, neba chegen la kondo saba nashin, ane susu nyeni duli ya, ane kondo sago resita, gyachimbo shiba laga. Gyumzen karire slabna, gyumzen karire slaba yina, ane tangbo digi, karsogore, kondo langken, neba jeken, digi susugi nyeni duli never jebris. Mongbe wong never jebris. Ane susugi nye nidu ina yang yang mongbe wongi dindigi nelen chebatigi maombali ya ane rangshen nigalu ya nyayagi gyutsamba yinza ane never chebat chibu chigyang rishas. Chezanga ku never chebi dumzingi kondo sagi slaba ina. Ani susu nye nidula yang kondo sari patang, ani neba chigen la kondo sabati chibu chigyang. Di rigwa dodang tsohu dabdi nga zo da diri mongbe wangi le sabati chibu chigyang rishas. Nimi sabati. Nga zo namsha yundu justice di kandis yawa chigri lana. kondo tangbo langye di ko le nyeba yor ma do kondo sangye le nyeba yor marwa.
Is it?
Dirwa?
Pa nulin chekin digi nubache digi order.
Dirwa? Odi yor marwa. Ta le junde la tangbo tangcha ra dwa. Tena nga zui timgang di takda ranga yor marwa. Ta le junde ki timgang ina ta di takda degu resi wari. Odi jingyan sonda.
And so here in relation to this verse number 67, and so what essentially the verse is explaining to us is that, if someone brings harm to us or our loved ones out of a kind of sense of delusion, ignorance, or kind of confused ignorance, and when this situation arises, what do we need to what do we need to understand in terms of our practice? So the other person for sure has some form of motivating thought there, but it's not really the most important thing is not the main cause of what occurs here is not at this particular, they're not, first of all, they're not really setting out to at this, usually at a very specific time, to to cause harm, but even the motivation which arises in this kind of moment is not really the primary driver of what's going on here. The main causal driving force is the previous karma, and what has happened is that it's this is the time when that particular form of karma this is the time for that particular form of karma to ripen. And so that you have a situation where, so if someone is causing harm either to ourselves or to those our loved and dear ones close to us, and if we or our loved or close ones retaliate to the person who is creating that harm, then in this situation, it may be that the person who is causing the harm may have that sense where they want to overcome the other. They want to defeat the other. They want to take the victory. They want the other people to kind of be defeated. That I am the one who prevails and the others lose. But if then there is a sense of retaliation, of replying and retaliating with anger to this harm, then but even if that person is able to sort of in some sense gain a small victory in the moment, then what it's saying in the verse when they talk about the confusion, or what does the Stephen Batchelor uses the word when he says, ignorance. So he's using the word ignorance or confusion or ignorance about what they're really ignorant about is even if they do gain some tiny victory in this moment, actually for the amount of time, the amount of seconds or moments that anger, that harm is caused, then through the three doors of the body, speech, and mind, then a huge amount of negativity is accrued, and so there's a confusion in relation to that. So into the temporary victory against and also this and this goes. This also, the fault befalls those who retaliate to that harm, who retaliate with anger to that harm, whether it's oneself or one's close ones, whether we retaliate in relation to others harming our close ones, or the close ones retaliate, whoever retaliates to the one causing harm with anger, that result of that retaliation with anger also is an unimaginable negative karmic result. It has an unimaginable negative karmic consequence that is accumulated. And so so both of you can say here that there's no, the situation is the same, essentially the same, where there's no both it comes down to both of those parties having a fault in the situation, and but essentially both of them have a kind of confusion in relation to the actions they're performing in the moment against the powerful negative consequences which they will accrue from from those actions. And the reason, if the reason is that so you have someone who is confused about this kind of the long-term consequences of their actions, and if you're saying that getting angry and causing harm, if causing harm is the reason that we say that the other person, like that the fault lies in the other person, and the reason that we bring to that is that if the harm is caused, and that's the reason, then actually those who, whether it's our loved ones or ourselves, who are responding with anger, retaliating with anger to the harm that's been caused, then they also have a form of confusion, and they are also harming both themselves or oneself and others in the kind of in terms of the harm of the negative consequences which will come in the future. So if the blame is to be laid out in the sense of because you're giving the reason that the harm has been caused, and that's the reason, then also you should get angry with you should get angry. Let's say your relatives retaliate to the person causing harm, you should get angry with them as well, or to get angry with all the parties in the situation, because all of them are causing harm. And all of this confusion is taking place in relation to the kind of misunderstanding or ignorance about the karmic law of cause and effect. And so when we talk in the modern times about a sense of justice, well, in a kind of regular court of law, then there would only be the perspective that the one who is causing the harm is the one who is really to blame. That's the one who justice should be meted out against. But the be considered to be, you know, at fault and to require justice in the sense of punishment, you know. And so we can kind of say that in the terms of the karmic cause and effect, it's not exactly the way that a normal court would preside over things. But in the court of karmic cause and effect, this is the situation that goes on, that we would see a fault with both of them causing harm and both of them being confused, both parties being confused. The one who causes harm and the one who retaliates, both are at fault in this situation.
So this way of thinking, if we think very carefully, this verse, one advantage of this is when we talk about patience, and then automatically we feel like, why should I kind of hold my breath? Why should I take the defeat on myself? Automatically, the patient, when we think about patient, this doubt comes up. So now, if we have a good understanding on this verse, and then what is the benefit is, automatically, if somebody brings a harm upon us, and then if we try to bring a patience, then after the patience, you feel like it's like a shield, that something harm didn't affect you, and then automatically at the same time you feel like I didn't harm myself too. It's not other people are harming me, and automatically at the same time you feel I didn't give a chance to harm myself too. So this is what Shantideva really wants to tell us. In order to understand that very carefully or very clearly, we should bring the faith in the law of causality. If I become angry, definitely I am harming myself 100% sure. It's not like I'm today, he ruined my day, not like that. Today, I have kind of destroy all my merits that I mutually or I
Accumulated.
Dirvada
Accumulated.
penata accumulate pena duslamitigo kola tembe penda jigis 참말로 먹어보지 pena 콜로 콘도 사베나 콜레 tembe 게자 망고 시부지 아니 냠야기 냥가디 드링이 cap톱송 삼성 주나 지전 다디 오마 측지 오마나 딜리기도와 지전 딘디지 중배인 아니 쇠버 공배인 아무 다 드링 쇠버 공배티기 랑라 수수수수기 셴라에 네버 마게버치 랑라에 네버 마게바 랑라 네버 마게마세 랑기 게자 마냠바 소남 마세바다 소남도 네 마게버치 시규 총송 세 이지디 땡보지 중나 아니 아주 쇠바 가져서 공기 중에 쪼와 슉치를 돼 중서봐
and so let's not talk about a sort of wider perspective. Let's just talk about in relation to one particular person that's harming either ourselves or our dear ones, and in relation just to that person, if we are able to really protect ourselves. How we have this sense of kind of protecting ourselves by not causing the kind of degeneration or the decline of our, of our accumulated virtue and the accumulated positive actions and virtue. If we can, we really have that sense, and this will be explained clearly in the verses shortly to come, that real have that sense of the practice of patience really being a kind of a protection for oneself and others, and in the moment when we're able to practice patience in the face of this harm, that we not only by not retaliating and being able to practice patience, we not only we don't cause harm to ourselves, we also are not causing harm to others, and then the kind of virtuous merit, the roots of virtue, merit, positive, all the positive things that we've accumulated will not deteriorate and decline, and this merit that we've accumulated will not be harmed in any way. If we really have a strong sense of kind of trust that in the moment of practicing patience that's really occurred, then as we proceed with our practice of patience, so there's a kind of real sense of kind of as the practice increases in patience increases in its strength, so a kind of joy, a greater and greater joy comes about performing the practice, engaging in the practice.
No, number 68, verse number 68. 강기 전다 네 제베 레딩은지 지치체 탐제래라라래나 다기 텔라 지디근 68.
Why did I previously commit those actions, because of which others now cause me harm? Since everything is related to my actions, why should I bear malice towards these enemies?
So now, if you practice the verse number 67 very well, then automatically, when you feel like why this particular person has to harm me, it's not only like this question will never arise with us to rise in our head, because automatically you will feel like this person, a particular person, he is my enemy, he is harming me, and the question will never come in our brains thinking why this person has to harm me. So if we practice verse number 67 very well, then automatically the practice is on the law of causality. It's like a chain. So it is related somewhere, even you don't see it or feel it, but there should be a connection. So then if you look for the connection, and then automatically you will feel, because the person who harms me, the question really is, I'm very unhappy today. I'm feeling angry, very unhappy. So why, what did I did something that I become very unhappy? Not only because he harmed me. There's something, this missing part. Then automatically this 67 comes up. What? 탐제래라라나 다게텔 지디근사 노디 따디 삼로에 오지당 토비나 죽주를 깨버디야 오sam당 토비나 땅아주 레당 요모니 시제남비 송데베 송디 여러 차베나라 군중데 방에 진비갑라 동해디야오 중에 송비 샤비 슈라 아니 랑신 동해야고 중에 차 뇌신 차비 슈데라 저거 남상코랑 갈리겠으나 쭉 가릴 때는 충분히 했어야 돼. 쭉 가릴 때는 충분히 했어도 레다 뉴모니 그래. 당불 남산 레들레고 요래. 뉴모니 말해. 아니 레 디디지 요레스. 디디지 내가 디디지 제 차버렸어. 나라 디디지 제베 인선 두부 디디지 용기 요레스. 디기 두어디 렌디라도 잠베 Angar le dinde chebe inzang ye di nyongu yore se di samro di le toba yina ngaranzo gi moji bare de chungba tang ji kondo sabi ne ngoji nabi ne kanji chungba yina ya ta kibu chungne le dubu chungne le du sama le dan dewa ji du se chi di she tu gu duwa di indu zambe nada kondo do ji sabi kabla ya ani kuga ngal nyoba je goya di nye kola ten nyoba je yoris ngal nyoba je ba tigi nyoba je ba te yoris le du zambe le dung wen sing bi duwa o dire du zambe ta nada kogab di kunjung pang cha se ta kunjung pang se de zambe le da nyomoni ka ro je di na ro ne ni kunjung pang se du kunjung digi le di ya wo jung wen sen tabi shu de la 다 레디 지게 타메와 무드 타메와 인도점에 가트에 개요 말이 때 인도점에 다 신의 아니 셈나로야 레디 기 지지기다 규디가고도 세치 다 삼로디니 오토매틱 리듀점에 최제 다 삼로디베 셔르도야티 자장가 콘로지 사바다 동예지 탭다 동예기 주 레딩스나 람산 레디기 아주기 셈나로야 마지부다 마데브스여지 레디레지기 인자 레디레지 여자 주부딘지 용구요래 슬라비sembe 다 레디기 아니 쇠딥치기 다 묘모데 매버스 마수기 봐도 레 매버스 투마레스 인주점be 디기 쇠딥치기 묘모 꾸네란치기 머리바 디스드지게 아니 따지기 차과 디 맵스고도 삼라이데온도 전에 아니 콘도사사 세월에 고 마저기 카카고서데 다드 말에 다 간사데 말에 람산 다 가왕면 징구도스나 레다 뇨모니리아 람산 제 디나노 뇨모데라 람산 고 때투도와 어디 내가 정보를 주셔야지 강시 강기 전다 뇌제비 레디 응지 지지체 탐제 레라라레나 다기 텔 지디권스 딜라 지디권스도 가사 텔에 가르치니 personal did why I have to take this very personal with this person did it which like do
I don't. And so here in verse number 68, so what we have to think very closely about in relation to this verse is in the sort of in the text it talks about the origin, the truth of the origin of suffering, and within that context, karma and mental afflictions being the what is given as the examples of the truth of the origin of suffering. And the process works by first of all how the Buddha explains to us that becoming accustomed to the condition accustomed to the condition of suffering, and then once we understand suffering as it really is, then very naturally we'll immediately, once we understand our condition to be a condition of suffering, we'll immediately and very naturally kind of search or wonder what is the cause of this suffering, and and therefore the causes of the suffering are given as the karma and the mental afflictions. And if we look at so karma in the sense of that, so first of all, karma in the sense of if this particular form of action is performed, then this will be the result that we have to experience from the performing of those particular kinds of actions. So the relationship between performing particular kinds of actions and the particular kind of experiential result that we will accrue later on. And so we have to really, keep this in our minds very clearly. Usually, in our daily lives, when unhappinesses come up, whether it's as something in relation to a situation of anger, or whether it's a simple headache, something like that. Whatever happy situations or unhappy, pleasant or unpleasant situations arise for us, these are all related to karma. And so if we could, in this time of anger where maybe someone's causing us harm and we feel the desire to retaliate with anger, if we can see that, the person who's harming me, and seeing that situation in the context of that harm is actually coming to me based on previous karma, then that tends to sort of settle us down a little bit. And so we have to find a kind of a counteractive force to that is able to abandon the origin of suffering, the karma and mental afflictions. But once we've kind of clearly identified what the meaning, what karma is, what the meaning of karma is, we sort of also come to slowly understand that the kind of numbers of accumulated karmas is almost inexhaustible. It's almost like there's no way that we'll actually be able to abandon every single individual karma. And so what sort of draws our attention is the what is the productive, what is the mental factor that's kind of helping to create all of those, which is kind of the driving force behind that, having all these karmas. And then we sort of see that again. Here we sort of we look towards the what is the ripening influencing factor that causes all of these karmas to ripen, and then we really focus on the mental afflictions and the motivational force of the driving motivational force of ignorance, and also attachment, which are the factors which actually create the cause of suffering, where a particular action, and then we see that in relation to the karma, where a particular action causes a particular karmic result. And then we really see that we have to get rid of that we really say, I have to get rid of these things. This is, since karma seems inexhaustible in itself, but the mental afflictions and the anger and attachments which drive this whole process are really what I need to abandon. And then we see in the situation, say with someone causing us harm, that we no longer identify the enemy as that enemy out there who has caused us, who's been causing us harm, but we look internally and identify the real enemy as the enemy of the karma and mental afflictions. And this is this is the tremendously important part of this verse. In the last line of the verse, it says, "Why should I bear malice towards these enemies?" And what I'm also want to say to you is that that sense of daki tila jite gun in Tibetan has this sense of, why are you making it personal about that enemy that's in front of me, when the enemy is the internal enemy of the ignorance and karma and ignorance.
Not sure. That in 69. 대다 통이 지니죠. 탐지 평균 잠심수 교와 대다 다게니 순놈 달라 딤디 샤스 69 days.
When I have seen this to be so, I should strive for what is meritorious, in order to certainly bring about loving thoughts between all.
Now here, Shantideva is teaching us how to meditate on karsa chambala dinal kardo.
Loving kindness.
Loving kindness, loving thoughts. Dirbe.
Yeah, do that.
So always remember this part. Whenever you are going to meditate on loving kindness, Shantideva has gone through all the steps, and then where he brings up the meditation on loving kindness. If we don't have the understanding the words before, then if we try to say I will try to meditate on loving kindness, so then we should be very careful whether what kind of loving kindness we are. We say, we think loving kindness, but the actual practice, it is not going on the real loving kindness. So in order to bring a real loving kindness, the most important thing that we need to have in a faith is the law of the causality. That's what Shantideva is bringing up. Yeah, that's my idea. We can debate. If we don't have a law in a faith in the law of causality, then we wouldn't may all the sentient beings have a happiness. Why wouldn't we say this? Because our mind is always biased, right?
You're biased, yes.
That's why we talk about the kasora semeshi,
The four immeasurables.
Four immeasurables. And then we talk about tangyom na karsegre.
Equanimity, the immeasurable.
Equanimity. Those practices are required. So then automatically, if we can feel your friend or the enemy, all these anger, how it comes to them is by the force of the from the destructive emotion and the karma. If there's still little doubt when you say that, then the meditation becomes so weak. So without any, sometimes it is very important, even you will have a doubt, yes, but don't give a room to the doubt. Just go on 100%. Even I don't understand very well, but 100% I believe in this. So here, then automatically you feel some kind of a connection with your enemy. How, if we could say, he harmed me through his, by the force of the negative emotion in the ignorance mind. And I also harm directly, indirectly, many times through this. So we are in the oneness of, not oneness, the whole community, the community of the suffering, samsara. And then you feel like in one big circle. Then once you feel like, I wish to get out of this kind of suffering, and also they also get out the suffering, because we are in the same situation. Yeah. So in order to have a good understanding of love, loving kindness. 이 Sanskrit 가서 미tta serve,
Maitri.
might, 가르사디.
Maitri. Yeah.
그래? Maitri.
Maitri.
Maitri. We need to have the understanding and the faith in the law of causality. Yes or no? That we have to investigate. If we don't have this, is there a possibility to think about loving kindness for everyone? This is a one big question mark, so that you have to fill in the blanks. Okay. 이제 대디하고요래. 내가 전부 저기도 디키라는 지글랍다. 지장가 땅 알아줘 잠바 망공을라스. 잠바디 망공을라 닝지 고방원도 누구 말했어. 가르친스나 니디 가르친 도발리고 하래. 탐지 대화던 되는 찌마롱 녀베 삼로 딩엘라 말레응을라 녀리 신 동행기 나와지 마토나 아니 디 대화도 되나 삼로들레 투그르베스
거기데 가데 두게데 대화 두년 대화데 두년 나무 마토나
신 대화단 되나 녀베기 로디 마지 응을라 신 동행단 전에 찌마롱 녀베 삼로도 응엘레 깨고메도스 신 동행단 전에 찌마롱 녀베 로디 양타와지 마제비 응엘라 신 동행 대화단 되나 찌마롱 녀베 로디 깨 투그르베스 디 저거래 남중 아주 가르스 그래 잠바다 닝지스 그러와 잠바다 닝지 니디 카팔로 출로스 말베
제레
신 대화다 되나 찌마롱 바디 가르스나 잠바 동해의 되나 찌마롱 녀베 삼로디 닝지 그러와 다 카팔로 출로래다 구여래데 이나야 준지기 림베원도 제베 이나스 준지기 림베원도 제베 이나 곰게비 림베 제베 이나 야바르도 녀야 닝지 곰봉원도 땅네 치수 잠발레 마도 잠반년로 곰투에 좀 해봐 니 잖아 어디 지난 쪽 공부치스 디인도 잠베 다 직삼로 가르동 신 동에게 나와래 신 동에 나와서 레다 녀몽게 샹한진레 세 삼로도 야고 말해 봐라 아니인지 삼로 요 말에 잠바 삼로 요 말이 세상 다 뒤숭고도가 신 동에게 나와다 레기 왕게레 세 삼로 마고 봐도 아니 잠발레 말레스 딜레나 잠발레 그레스 딜 숭고도가 부주주구다 부주주균 주균 상마들이도와
구르가 투지레 구르베 투지레 구어 yeah. And so in relation to this verse number 69 where it talks here about love or loving kindness, I want to raise a doubt here, and that is before it's possible for us to meditate on the cultivate our meditation on love, is it possible to do that if we don't prior to that cultivate a meditation on suffering? Is it necessary for the meditation on not suffering, compassion and is it necessary for the meditation on compassion to proceed or not? Is it necessary or not to proceed meditation on love? And if I have a doubt about this, I'm asking you to think about this and take it as a doubt, because the mind of usually we talk about love and compassion, and the mind of love is one which wishes that it's not okay, that that strong wish that all sentient beings be conjoined with happiness. That's love, and the mind of compassion is the thought that it's definitely correct that also it's important that all sentient beings be relieved of all of their suffering. So these two different minds, but in relation to those two, it seems that it seems that if we're not able to understand the suffering, to be able to have a kind of to have others suffering kind of really appear to us and really to understand others suffering, then I don't know whether it would be really possible then to, without doing that, to really understand that situation, to really experience that situation fully, to then be able to meditate on love in a kind of complete way. So you have this kind of stages or a sequence of kind of cause and effect in the meditation, and I'm this is a doubt. I want you to think about it, but I'm raising the doubt that maybe that compassion may have to come prior to that experience of how others experience suffering, and that suffering arises powered by karma and mental afflictions, and that once we can understand that suffering nature and therefore have the compassion which wishes them to be to be free of those forms of suffering which are driven by karma and mental afflictions, and then I think maybe it's only after that, although in the sequence we often talk in the Tibetan it says cham ninje, which is then love, compassion, but I wonder whether before until you've done that, until you've had that cultivated that understanding of it in terms of suffering, then I'm not sure that if there's no compassion coming prior to it, that that, and that sense that their suffering is driven by karma and mental afflictions, that then you can meditate on love kind of completely or correctly. That it's a doubt that I have, and I want you to think about that.
Okay.
Which is
no.
contained in relation to this verse here. This is what I think Shantideva is trying to say here.
70. Dagi gewa manyen bitun de beras. Sunam tün de cha. What no. Pena kimsi gyubi me. Kimshin shidu soneni saso kangla checheba dini chungdi tor re. Tishin kangla sem chane shedan meni che gyuruba sonam tsibura tobayi dini tiyi mela tor sa. 70 and 71, please.
For example, when a fire in one house has moved into another house, it is right to get rid of straw and such things that will cause the fire to spread. Likewise, when the fire of hatred spreads to whatever my mind is attached to, I should immediately get rid of it, for fear of my merit being burned.
The example is a very perfect example. How it works, the anger, it really slowly, not only harms others, but somehow once you have the anger within you, or maybe say, well, like an example, the fire separates and then burned everything, and then it takes a long time to things to grow because it has burned completely from the seed. It burned the seed. Similarly, once you have some conflict or some kind of a difficult relation, and then to build the relation is the worst thing to repair. It's very difficult. Let's say even you feel like want to say that you read And that's what I'm saying. Whether you can do the practice very well or not, like Shantideva was from the first chapter until the 9th or 10th chapter, if you can do exactly what he says or not, but if you can do kind of meditation, especially whom you have so much hatred, or you cannot say it, the hate, but deep inside that you really do, and then bring lots of, try to love that person, see the reality and how much you have harmed yourself through this. And it's not only that kind of this kind of a conflict is, it's not only this kind of fight is not for this life only. It has started some from our past lives, and it is continuing. So this kind of fire here, where it says it's like the, not a small fire, it's like the fire in Australia or California. It's even the like a superpower nation like America and Australia and all, they try to bring helicopters and then the big airplanes to put everything. They can't do anything. So therefore, it is important before the fire comes up. What are what's that? Precautions. Precautions. Is that right word? Tilia. Ngongo. 30. The preparation.
The things which are required, the essential elements which are required.
The safety
going.
Oh yeah. This is very
Yeah, safety. Yeah, safety.
Yeah. Now here, now this fire thing.
Precautions. Sorry.
Precaution, right?
Yeah.
So now, take this example to the anger. It's the same thing. It's not you can see it, but you can feel it. The fire, you can see how it's harming. But anger, you cannot see it, but you can really, if you investigate a little bit, yes, ask yourself that what do you have some really difficult connection with others, it's really, really difficult to connect with them again. Family, enemy, best friends, got a fight, and now they're worst enemy. Very difficult. Even they become quite a, they make the connection once again, try their best, but one small spark or this situation comes up, and then everything destroys again. Very very instantly. So that means the Shantideva, if you look at the verse number 71, and then in the 70, in the example, there is where is it?
Straw.
70. Straw where?
Straw, yeah. Straw.
Where is it?
Straw. Third line. Oh, yeah.
It's a right to get rid of the straw and such things. It what?
Yeah.
Get rid of the straw. Yeah, in fire, yes, it does make sense. But now in
not in anger.
Not in anger, right? If you take the straw, it still doesn't matter. But here, the straw is an example that straw is
the mind of attachment, the attached mind.
The straw and such things is the attachment here. Once there is an attachment, then it is easy to catch the fire. destroy. Oh, that dirishata. Manzo kechi shudi. Jezanga shedang many chejurwa. Tishin kanla sem cha ne seti. Dirwa sem cha ne and karchigrisna. Sem di chasa jiji yoris. Cha ne and karchigrisna. Shedang made dus doing grace.
Cookie. Shedding too on.
Sakambu. Ne setwa.
Yeah.
Di zadang zadla soko de me chuya di yebe yinza ani me di pigil jugure slava nashin me bargire slava nashin kanla ani kasure semcha di yebe nas semcha se de cha dirba de cha di yebe chabi shula ani shedang me di ngures dirwa o di ta indu kechi shode ngajo dinan samlo kartang gur islamna 간지 콘로 용루 땅야라 차고 용땅 보고리 다디나로 도단스고다 차고 용루 차고 용루 땅 고야디 컨트리스토스나 베나 닝기 초라 수수 닝기 초라 네버티 온디 콘로 사야 디렉도와 다지기 수수 달라 다 샴바지 네버티 베까블라 콘로 사금도 그러와 고르사 말해. 디인도 잠에 소소당 소수 니니 둘이야 네버 체비나 가르치니래서는 샴바케멘도스 아 콘도사고 좀센 쪽을 가르스나 디리셔스 아 차배운 거래 샤스 디타추고 고도와 다 딜라브나 아니 셈나로를 양저 야 니월 리 더고 다가는 리그리 아니 니니들 네버 체비네 아니 가 지금 뭐지버치 마데버치 아니 처음에 비서로 대고르스는 디마레스 디 가진스나 로 미데바 용구레스 뭐지버 용구레스 용초레스 이나야 콘도사 초마레스 다디리 개발 콘도사베이네 펜도지에 용구레스 지상 겨울은 붙이기 먼저 송구유바 콘도 마사부터네 달라 렌잡고 그랬어.
네.
데려다 렌잡고 그랬어.
네.
대상아 어디 내가 좀 물어봐. 어디다 데려가서 네가 사실이다.
And so, particularly in relation to the second verse that we're looking at here, verse 71, and where it says, so first of all, in the previous example, it uses the example of, such combustible items like straw in a house when the fire breaks out, and you take out the straw and other things which will catch fire and throw them outside to prevent the blaze from spreading. In the same way, to prevent the fire of anger from spreading, what we need to and what it says here in verse 71 is actually, to whatever my mind is attached. So not just it's also not just the mind that is attached, but the attached mind. So anything which causes attachment is the problem that will which will act as a condition to cause the fire to spread. And so we have to. So here it's saying to us that we have to, in order to. And so what's very important for us in relation to this verse is the understanding that in order to reduce our anger, we actually have to reduce our attachment. And we can see this very clearly in situations where someone is harming another person. If the person being harmed is someone who is dear or close to us, then there's a sense of us feeling that sense of need for retaliation or anger. But if the person causing the harm does it in relation to causes harm to someone who is our enemy, we see no reason why there's no sense of needing to retaliate or get angry in that situation, and this is due to our attachment. So so the main reason that's actually underneath all of this situation is that it's all coming from our it's coming from our attachment, and we need to find ways to decrease our attachment. And this is going to be discussed in later verses. But one thing it's going to be discussed in later verses, but I'm going to say it now also, is that in His Holiness has talked about in relation to this, is not saying don't have any form of feeling at all, or it's not okay at all to have an unhappy mind when, say, someone is causing harm to your dear ones. It's not talking like that. What it's saying is that it's possible and kind of acceptable that your mind may become happy in those unhappy in those situations, but what is essential is that you don't get angry. So His Holiness, so because there's no benefit that comes from retaliation or anger, there's no benefit to it, and so His Holiness, many times in the teachings, His Holiness says, but he very clearly delineates this and say, there's a way to answer or respond to your enemy, but you should never do that on the basis influenced with anger or a sense of retaliation. So you still are able to respond in some way, but it's never influenced by anger. So we'll leave it here for today.
Today, one of my friends sent me a question, so I couldn't reply immediately. So I'm going to answer that here, because the question is, I think I said something in one of my classes. Maybe I'll say that in Tibetan. 제가 가서 그래 디버 장바다 아니 소남 사야디 냠도 좋고 도스.
디버 장바당.
디버 장바당. 니 개와 사바디 냠도 좋나 또 그런 적이 들은 것은 냠내 쳐다만 보지. 아니 소남 사마도 소남 사바디기 가리기들이 냠부 때문에 도체. 배나 지기 차 세워도 있나? 아니 내가 소남 사기요 삼아도 지기 디다냠도 네 디버 디딜 때니 디고 방구 삼삼딩 안줄 레비요 봐. 제상에 보이 뭐 하고 준비 개와 컨텐츠 제베 있나요? 디기 랑랑기기 냠부 랑랑이 딱 가서 그래. 냠부 체를 볼 때니 디고 방 토가지고 요래. 이 제가 드린 것은 아주 망부지 초그려 봤지. 저기 최바를 지표비나 다 짐바를 땅은 짐바 쉬고 땅은도 전에 이 짐바 쉬고 땅에 손놈 사인 세마도 디념도 이 디체벌 때니 니 셈을 디펜송 세티. 그냥 드린 뭐지로 롱켄치려야 롱켄 미망부지려 아니 저 배샤 몸망부지 제비나 아니 셈나로려야 랑싱기 셈나로려야 다 손놈 쉬고 사인 슬람나 손놈 때에 개요 말봐.
네.
이나야 셈나로려야 아니 지 사인 세대지마도 팽약해도 봐. 알아서 정보시나. 다 팽약 가르핀고 그랬으나 딜레 땡지 아니 지바당베인데 디념도 세나를 내고 수수 세나들 내고 딱.
네.
그리고 와 차제원도 전에 내 이거 차제인 수도 나는 알게 지겨. 땡땡땡 알게들 내도 내도 딱 오고요.
그래요.
그래봐 들은 것은 아주 어디 마셔도 전에 알아줘 개와 정말로 개와 초그려 보세요. 제가 아주 손함 사바이 아니 지 제인 세마도지 셈을 팽기도 쓰는 두어디 랭겨 도움도 와. 왕제지기. 인도 전에 개와 사나 디다냠도 녀바도 디고빵 세네레 개와 디기 개와 텔레텐지 수수기 묘모 디단 디체벌 녀송세 디텐된 구글 다 디 총부이나 아니 개와직 사와 될 때니 소나미 사야다 디버 장바 냠도 시토브리 어디직 줄다.
So this was in relation to a friend of mine who asked me a question, and I'm answering it here because I wasn't able to directly answer to them. And the question was sort of talking, my response to the person's question is in terms of how we're in our way of practicing, we're a little bit kind of biased towards creating merit. And so there are two sort of main factors in our practice. One is the kind of accumulation of merit, and the other is the sort of training or reducing down our negativity, our negative actions. But these have to go together. These two things have to go together. When we're practicing, these two things have to go together. It's not only about creating merit. So, for instance, let's say when we're let's say if we're doing prostrations, and there's, we tend to, having completed a sort of large number of prostrations, we tend to think about the merit that we've created by doing that. But what doesn't come to mind, it doesn't very easily come to our minds that actually as well as accumulating merit, it's acted that practice has acted as an antidote towards training, abandoning, reducing our negativity or negative emotions. And so, for instance, if we make offerings, especially when we make offerings, we engage in the practice of generosity, and we think of the great merit that's come from engaging in that. But we don't think, the phrase Rinpoche is using is, we don't see the benefit to our mind, because you can't really, you do thousands of offerings, offering hundreds of thousands of people to people who are objects of our generosity, and you give away lakhs and lakhs of rupees, and you say, okay, there's a greater merit accumulated from this, but you can't actually really sort of manifestly show it. But what we needs to come to our mind is that how has that also benefited our mind, not just the kind of this accumulation of merit, but the direct benefit to our mind on the basis of doing that practice which creates merit. We also need a sort of something which is shown to be of direct benefit to our minds, and so that has harmed our negativity and our mental afflictions. So, for instance, in terms of generosity, we should also think about it as being a counteractive force to our miserliness. If we're doing prostrations, then of course, this is something you have to look at when you're doing positive practices, but it can also help to cause harm to our pride, not just the accumulation of merit, but in that sense of and so we need to, whenever we so that has a sort of direct influence on the mind, and so whenever we're engaged in virtuous practice, what we have to do is always what is very difficult for us to often answer the question of is these two of abandoning or reducing our negativity and accumulating of merit. The two must go together, and so in terms of abandoning or reducing our negativity, particularly that is in relation to causing harm or reducing our mental afflictions. So these two need to come together, but we don't often think about it in this way when we're engaged in our Dharma practices.
When you're chigi chanju semti gyapo chi sono down to bayina so yang kurang so ani diba yang kurang jangdu sungdu wa di you're chigi sungdu da ani chigi da kadam belam mangu chigi tagaran sungdu wa 디 숨이야게 nen가한테 가르를 했으나 아니 전주 쌤 상담도 가르를 뉴도 가르를 가르기 그 되게 전주 쌤이 가르를 핑기도 진짜 전주 쌤 상담 란주 용무 용수 쪽에 계셨디 란 진진 된기도스 제가 란 진진다 님부 약수디 전주 쌤도 데려와 다 ran jinsin di yapo chi ba ka to na amsan shin jinsin de on do zambe shin jinsin di ge to ne mi shin ge tun da le pe chi nam she yun do tu tang ma to ne ko le tu tang ya ji da mi ge tun da ji ma nam ju ma che de chi chi ju ju ron ge shin ge de ba ji ma gang to be na chung ju ji ne gang to be na ga wa xiu ji ji yo ba de de sonam ta ra sa to ma Dendê sonam saya di gyu karil teni le son rimbadi rangdun yiji gi samba di katsu gi ma chung ro dobi na shen jin jin gi samba di ya chir ro ya ri dini inde ro jire do wa do sto ni ro sto wa rang jin jin di chung di ma do sto ne shen jin jin samba do sto on do zambe ten chir ro ani nyambudi shukchir 고 아니 가서 거기 방자디 랑진진의 내용들 아니 제가 디기 전주 셈을 도모만 미치지도 있어도 디나신 다 전주 셈 기든 디기 제주나신데 다 연din 가서 그래 최신바줄 시에 요 말을 때 이내에 때 차송 거지 말한 주기 개와 간대지 시베네 딱딱딱딱딱 콜 님부 된 토비지 아니 님부 된 토비는 될 때는 연대 용토비지 된데 선배 될 때는 수남 용토비야 어디서 당하죠 인지민지 섬도 당국도 디케란도 공부 싫어
Yeah, so I want you to really, think about this, the points I'm making here very carefully. For instance, when His Holiness talks about, His Holiness and the Kadampa Lamas, or when they talk about things like bodhicitta, they always talk about it in relation to these two aspects. One in terms of accumulating merit, or sort of the kind of positive, virtuous side, but also as a kind of counteractive force to our negativity. And this kind of how does this meet up when we talk about bodhicitta? Well, and when what we look at is what is the not just the benefit in the sense of accumulating merit being positive in that sense, but in the sense of what is it that it acts as an antidote towards, so that we can clearly see in relation to bodhicitta that it's the self-cherishing mind, which is kind of harmed by and reduced by this, by bodhicitta itself. So, and actually, there's nothing better than bodhicitta in terms of acting as a counteractive force to our self-cherishing. There's nothing better than bodhicitta for doing that. So in terms of self-cherishing, so really what I'm trying to say to you is that what happens is in this process is it's almost like the kind of antidotal force runs first. So in terms of the bodhicitta, if we think about it in terms of cultivating bodhicitta, then reducing our self-cherishing mind. As the self-cherishing mind reduces in strength, so the cherishing of others is allowed to flourish more. And and as the cherishing of others gets that sense of the cherishing of others, holding others dear, increases, then when in situations that even when we feel like I haven't got time or energy or something, but still, if there's a way that I can make time or extend my energy in order to help others, even if it's just a little bit in terms of helping others, then what develops along with that is a kind of happiness or delight. And then here you see that the other kind of side of things, the accumulation of merit. And so so I see it like the bodhicitta acting as a kind of direct counteractive antidotal force to the self-cherishing, and then in stages, then the kind of almost like the kind of positive accumulation of merit side arising. And this is one of the kind of uncommon qualities which is ascribed to bodhicitta. So whatever practice we're engaged in, whatever kind of virtuous activities we're engaged in, then try to think about how it is acting as an antidote to our kind of negative side. And then as that antidote works, it does its work, then the benefit of that antidote performing its work then allows the merit, the accumulation and that positive side of things to then take place. So I want you to really think about this point. It's extremely important.
Okay, now please dedication.
Dedication prayers. Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I've heard, day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts. In a land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the 3 times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Stay safe and say lots of prayers for the people who are suffering, and be strong, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.